Hey everybody, how you doing? How's your conference going? So unmute and tell me. I just asked you a question.
Fun.
Awesome.
Fun. Oh, fun is good. It's going to get more fun now, but some of you who know me already know that. Okay, so
Impactful and inspiring.
let's fucking do this shit. It's not as the same as being in person, but I'll try to do the best I can. Okay. So this session is going to be in two parts. How many of you saw my cartoon drawing of this session? Okay, so basically, what we're going to do, the first part is going to be me telling you my story and sharing my story of how I took an idea to execution, what I learned, sort of tools and strategies I applied. Okay, and the second part is you guys are going to tell me so I can learn from you, because I've never believed that the person on this side of the screen knows more than the person on that side of the screen. Okay. So that's how this is going to go down. Okay. So you ready? Welcome to the Creativity Conference. This is Billie Carn reporting from her co-working space. And if you could see what this place looks like at the moment, as Maddie has seen, you'll get how this. Now, this is, as I said to Maddie, this is going to go extremely well. Or we're going to have to get creative because there's going to be a few along the way. Okay. So I said I would do a session. What I do is, just so you know, I love people to know the backstory. I always wait till Maxim's got his head round who's doing what, and then I ring him up and go, okay, so what shall I do? And he says, do you know what? Could you do so and so? And I went, yeah, all right. So that's why we came up with the concept of translating ideas and inspiration into action, which is execution, because ideas are 10 a penny. It's execution that is gold. Okay. So first thing I want to tell you is, and remember, for those of you who know me, I use a lot of props. Okay. So the last 2 days, this is what I've been doing. So this is my jar of Himalayan cooking salt, pink salt. Okay. Now, I'm not going to play a game and get you guys to guess how many grains of salt are in there, because I have no idea, okay? But ideas, first of all, you need lots of ideas, and think of it like a jar of salt, okay? Then what you need is to mix and match some of your diverse ideas. So I was thinking, now, what can I use to show you that? So I'm going to, if you're hearing me clunking, don't worry, I'm going to show you in a minute, because there's no way I'm lifting this up. I have cream carpet, okay? But I'm going to rotate this round. Can you see that? Can you all see my spice tin?
Yes.
Excellent. Like I said, now you know I'm not lifting it up. So you have to think of your ideas as a mix and match of these diverse things. When I'm cooking chicken curry or if I'm making biryani or whatever, I've got to pick which bits. And that's where it's the same colors, same thing, but so your ideas have to be like that. It's got to be this mix and match thing. But once you've got all these ideas, you have to pick one. And you have to have that moment. Let me see if this works. Okay. I might have to lift this up a bit. Okay. Where you have that moment that goes, ta-da! And that light bulb goes on. I'm going to leave this on because I just like it. So when you have all these ideas, you've got to think of something's got to really touch your heart. So I'm going to share how I do this and share some of the ways other people have taught me how to do this. So first of all, has anybody come across Big Magic? Yep, I can see some hands going up. How Ideas Work by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is the chapter, okay? And obviously, I'm just going to read out the highlighted bits, because otherwise that'd be the whole of the time we've got for the talk. How Ideas Work. Creativity is a force of enchantment, not entirely human in its origins. I believe that our planet is inhabited not only by animals and plants and bacteria and viruses, but also by ideas. Ideas are driven by a single impulse to be made manifest. And the only way an idea can be made manifest in our world is through collaboration with a human partner. If it is only through a human's efforts that an idea can be escorted out of the ether and into the realm of the actual. When it finally realizes that you're oblivious to its message, that idea will go to somebody else. The idea, sensing your openness, will start to do its work on you. The idea will organize coincidences and portents to tumble across your path, to keep your interest keen. You will start to notice all sorts of signs pointing you towards the idea. The idea will not leave you alone until it has your fullest attention. And then, in a quiet moment, it will ask, do you want to work with me? So you have all these ideas. So you've got your one idea now. It keeps messaging you subliminally, however you're having that, yeah? Start with why. Understand why you want to do this idea, okay? Does it relate to your ikigai? Does it actually make you feel like it's what you love, it's what you're good at, the world needs it, and ideally, if you can be paid for it, okay? It needs to be part of your journey in your own search for happiness. Because sometimes we pursue happiness, but there's also happiness in the pursuit of our idea. Why, finding the quest that will bring purpose to your life. And if you're going to do it, go for a big one. Go for that moonshot or loon shot or whatever you want to call it. Somebody once told me, find an idea that's worth failing for. It was a guy called Daniel de Grugiter, and he was one of the people I interviewed for my project. That sentence really stuck with me. Find the idea that is worth failing for. The one that when you're on your deathbed, that's the one you're going to say, I wish I had done that, even if I'd failed. Just think what I've learned along the way. That's what you want to do. And find an idea that you really care about. And to illustrate that, I've just taken things off my wall. So, I'm a big fan of Dr. Seuss. Unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So those are ways to think of your ideas initially, okay? That's the first step. The second step is you have to accept how you work. So I'm going to tell you my story of how I work and how I get things done or not get things done. So I have a number of strengths, okay? When I run off stage, it's because I'm getting my props because I haven't got a glamorous assistant, okay? I have to be the glamorous assistant as well. I'm a bit of an explorer, okay? I love exploring things. I have a mega curious mind. I'm so obsessed with wanting to know how things work. I've always been that way. And I kind of think in pictures. And to illustrate, let me show you this. This is something I drew a few years back when I was doing my master's, when I was this was all about creative problem solving and leadership. So I like to draw, so I know that's one of the ways I work, okay? If you were to look around my room, oftentimes when I'm waiting for a meeting to start, when it says like 5 minutes, you're getting ready, yeah. I'll be sitting there playing with my Etch-a-Sketch. I like to play. I'm like a big kid. That is just how I am. I have obsessions. But anybody who knows me, my nieces will... I have a pen obsession, right? I did say I will not buy any more, but I have a pen obsession, okay? And I like to play more than I like to work, okay? So those are some of my strengths. My limitations, oh my God, the list is long, okay? But one of my limitations is I'm not very good at asking for help. I kind of feel like I've got to figure it out for myself. That's part of my journey, I get it. But at the same time, I think I'm just going to keep this hat on because I love it. Don't always wear it, it's always on the shelf. I'm not very good at asking for help. I'm somebody who's distracted by shiny objects, like, oh my God, I could do this idea. Oh my God, I could do this idea. And I'm kind of like, and I had to find ways to deal with them, is the word I would use. I'm also not a finisher. If I look at any time I've been assessed for the kind of way I work, when you have those assessments, you're good at this, you're good at that, yeah. I'm great at ideas. I'm great at certain things. I'm great at working with people. But the one dot that I don't move the need, I've never been very good at is finishing. Okay. So how did I help myself to execute an idea then? So first of all, you've recognized your strengths and limitations, but then you've got to figure out what have you got to do to create it? What do you need? Okay. But is that asking for help? So I had this ginormous idea and I didn't know how to take all the data I had collected. I knew how to write academic papers. I didn't know how to change it into a book. So what I did was I started looking at them and somebody said to me, Billie, don't worry about it being perfect. Just get it done. And I stumbled across the Cult of Done manifesto. Has anybody seen this before? This is going to be like story time at school. The Cult of Done manifesto. There are 3 states of being: not knowing, action, and completion. Except that everything is a draft. It helps to get it done. There is no editing stage. Pretending you know what you're doing is almost the same as knowing what you're doing. So just accept that you know what you're doing, even if you don't, and do it. Banish procrastination. If you wait more than a week to get an idea done, abandon it. The point of being done is not to finish, but to get other things done. Once you're done, you can throw it away. Laugh at perfection. It's boring and keeps you from being done. People without dirty hands are wrong. Doing something makes you right. Distraction is a variant of done. If you have an idea and publish it on the internet, that counts as the ghost of done. Done is the engine of more. Well, I stumbled across this and I stuck it on my wall. And then I thought, okay, so I've already told you guys, I like to play games. There was a lot of work to do. I had like 99 pages of 99 interviews I needed to draw up. So I started thinking, well, if I don't want to write, who draws books? So I started finding things. Like I found this book, the back of a napkin, and I started flicking through these books and getting ideas on how people might actually draw their ideas. Because remember, some human has already faced that challenge we've faced. If we find the right human to help us. So I was asking for help in loads of different ways. I stumbled across this. This guy makes a whole living by drawing Post-it notes. There you go. Uses for basements or attics in films. He just made these random drawings. And I thought, oh my God, interesting. And then I looked at somebody who was doing similar sort of work, and thank God for Tales of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And I looked at how he'd done it. He hadn't done pages and pages on everybody. He just did some of the people he spoke to, he'd written 2 pages. I wanted to show you that the answers are already out there. Also like this one. Am I overthinking? And I started to understand that they had done it their way and it was okay for me to do it my way. So that gave me a trigger. Okay, there are books out there that do this kind of thing. And then I designed myself a template. How many of you have found that once you've got a template, it's easy to fill the information in for every single person? Thank you for the hands up there. So that's all I did. I designed myself a template. And once I'd got the template, I was off to the races. But still, 100 pages to do for one section of the book was still quite a lot. So what did I tell you? I like playing games. I don't, otherwise it becomes overwhelming. So I made it into a game of Tetris. So this is a photograph of what used to be on my whiteboard. The whiteboard that you can see behind me, it's deliberately blank today because I like white space. It gives me somewhere to whack my ideas up. But on that very same board in my old house, I had this. I literally drew a 10 by 10 square and I wrote the initials of everybody I'd interviewed. And when I did their page, I ran in and I scribbled it out. And it just became a game of me playing Tetris. Out of the window went anything that was holding me back. I'd now got a template and I'd now got this idea that I could do it like this. The other thing was, I said to you right at the beginning, one of my things is I get distracted by shiny objects. And I'm really curious. So what I did do was I gave myself permission while I was doing this work to still play, to still have that curiosity. I gave my permission to go down rabbit holes. So, for example, when I was drawing, if I was trying to draw something that people said was risky, I would Google the psychology of color and what is the color for risky. So I learned all about the psychology of colors and how if you notice anything professional is blue, like the LinkedIn logo. Yeah, I started learning all these things. So not only was I was feeding my curiosity, I was learning all this amazing stuff. And to be quite honest, more than the book, it was the rabbit holes I went down. And if I hadn't given myself permission to do that, I would have probably just given up. And, you know, people say to me, oh, you're so good at drawing, until I told them how I drew. And I said this to my friend, Mike, who helped me to digitalize the book. I'm not actually a very good drawer. Before I'd done this, I hadn't really drawn much at all. Would you like to know how I drew my pictures? I would find some images, you know, like on Pixie Bay, the ones you're allowed to use without referencing somebody, right? I would find a picture of, so like say I wanted a picture of a compass. I would find a picture of a compass that was not copyrighted or anything. I would flip my computer upside down, kind of like this. Okay. Then I would get some tracing paper and I'd draw it with pencil off the screen. Like in the world of AI technology, I cannot believe I'm announcing this to the world, but that is how I drew. I have all the little pieces of tracing paper. And when I ran out of tracing paper, I went to the kitchen cupboard and I like to bake a cake or two. I just took out baking parchment, right? That's how I did my drawings. But again, by giving myself permission to play and do it the way I was happy doing it, I got it finished. And I think that's part of the journey, is learning what your strengths are, what your limitations are. But if you have a limitation, you just got to find, it's just a wall. You've got to go over it, round it, you know, blow it up. You've just got to figure out a way through it. And we're all capable of doing that. We just have to give our self-permission to do that. So what I'm going to share with you now, and this is going way faster than I thought, so this is great because I'm going to have more time to talk to you guys. Because part of the work I did was about how what you need to successfully. When I asked the Mavericks about successful execution, I'm going to share with you the kind of things they said. And this is my page from the book about successful execution. And what they told me was some of the things that we're already talking about now. Number one, you need to have an imagination. Okay? You need to have an imagination because it requires you to have an idea worth executing. It requires you to have believers who think you might do it. And who's the first believer? Yourself. Okay? You got to think big. If you're going to put all that work in and kill yourself trying to do this, make it worthwhile. Okay? What else have we got on here? Remember, it's going to require perseverance and hard work. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have some stumbling blocks. It's going to require you to plan. Okay? You've got to have an idea. You've got to do it. You've got to be doing it. And then you've got to be done. Because unless you're done, it is just an idea that you didn't execute. And if the magic is in the executing, that's the power. I always say to people, as I said in the write-up for this, this was my creative way of taking an idea and executing it, using my strengths, using my limitations. You've all probably got hundreds of ideas. Do you know consultants get paid a fortune to come in and leave a company with a shed load of post-it notes? No. You know, what consultants need to do is tell them, okay, now which of these ideas are we actually going to execute? And how much money have you got to do this? How are you going to do this? Okay. And the reason I said that if you believe that an idea is nothing without execution, you've got to figure out a way around your own, make your strengths work for you and make your limitations something you work through or over. Oftentimes, people sometimes say to me, oh, you know what, you're too kind. And I always say to them, don't misconstrue my kindness to be my weakness. It's one of my greatest strengths. And like that, all of us are strengths. The fact that I'm curious is a limitation because I want to explore loads of other things. But it's also the thing that's a strength, because if I wasn't curious, I wouldn't be trying to do something about it. Does that make sense? That fires my soul up. So those are that's the journey that I kind of take. What I'd like to spend the rest of the time doing with you guys is I want you guys to share your stories of how you took an idea and translated it into action. What were your challenges? How did you get over that? How did you creatively come up with a solution to those things? So over to you guys. And I'm more than happy for you to run around the room and, find things that you want to share and say, oh, this is what I use. So go for it. I'm literally not going to talk much more, except to answer your questions. All right, everybody unmute and go for it.
All right, Billie, I'm trying to be good to let the introverts have an opportunity to think before they talk.
And I'm trying to figure out, how can I get all of your faces on the screen? Because I can only get 4. Why can I only get 4?
Okay, so I'm going to go while I go. Yesterday, you mentioned that you had kaleidoscopes. I actually started collecting them. So
Yay!
So everywhere I go now to a museum, they typically have kaleidoscopes.
Yes.
So I'll collect a kaleidoscope. And what I love is that every kaleidoscope is not the same. If you start looking at kaleidoscopes, you'll notice the objects in the kaleidoscope are different. The perspective, the lens, everything is different. One I got from the Louvre is a sphere, which is really cool because right here it has a glass sphere on the top which is a different way of looking through it. I wish I could like zoom in and show you, but it's just a different way. And what I love as a metaphor of the kaleidoscope is it is a way of absolutely abstractly looking at your world in a completely different way, where the environment creates art on the fly for you. So when you were talking about getting things done, I think finding things with a purpose.
Yeah, Kate.
that help you ideate. But again, your resonation, this resonated with me today. An idea is nothing without execution, because I'm a huge idea person. I have a brain bowl that I created with all sorts of ideas. I may just get it and show you, but I love this. I'm going to make this my mantra for now till whenever, because you're right. We have thousands of ideas, but if none of them get executed, they never live life. And that's all about what big magic is. I love, by the way, I'll say this and I'll shut up, but I loved in Big Magic how she said, the muses go around, they pick people, and if you don't execute, they find somebody who will.
Yes, there was a brilliant story in there where Michael Jackson has this idea for a song, and he goes running into his early hours of the morning. He goes running into his, or rings his manager and says, well, I've got to write this, otherwise Prince will get it, you know. And that was such a good story. And just so what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your questions as well. So Jay, just so, because I do not like taking credit for anybody else's work, that ideas are nothing without execution actually comes from an academic. So just so you know, I'm a sado academic who likes to draw. So that came from, it's the first paragraph in my thesis. Okay.
Oh, nice.
The other side of innovation, the science. Now for the science bit, people. Do you remember the Pantan advert? You know, Jennifer, who was it? Who's the girl out of Friends? Rachel from Friends, yeah. She does this hair advert, and it was for Pantan, and she'd go, and now for the science bit. So I'm going to do now for the science bit, okay? Most people and companies think that innovation equals ideas. But what they found is, as a result, most corporations have more ideas than they can possibly move forward. So what they did, they went into they went into hundreds of companies and they said, how good are you guys at getting ideas? And everybody's hands went up. And then they asked them, yeah, how many of those actually executed an idea? And very few hands went up. And that's where it says innovation equals ideas plus execution. And typically, hardly anybody executes, and everybody's great. So I always say to companies, don't bring me in if you want me to walk out once you've got your post-it notes on the wall, because you hired the wrong girl. Okay, thank you so much, Jay. Who else would like to have a go?
Billie, we've had a few people join us. Can you re-say the prompt for people who just joined in our room?
Of course. So basically, I've been sharing how to take an idea from execution. And part of it is knowing your strengths and knowing your limitations and how you overcome those limitations. So I've shared my story, which for those of you who weren't in the room, I'm ever so sorry, you missed out, guys, but watch it on the replay. So this part of, and I deliberately kept it short, is because this is the chance for you guys to share with me stories of how you had an idea and how you executed it, and what things you used to overcome your own the limitations you had, or what really worked well for you. I can see a hand up. Is it Maria? Am I saying it right?
You're saying it right, Billie.
Hey, lovely.
It's so nice to see you again. So one of my is that I don't know time very well. So, okay, let's do this. I decided to do this new tourism experience, went through, got it going. We started renovations April 1st, and I wanted to pilot June 22nd. Now, because I don't know time, that timeline was kind of off, except it kept pushing us and pushing us. But as a result of that limitation, I went, okay, I can't pilot or launch on July or June 21st, but I can pilot a little bit. So I have to get this far and this far and this far. And yes, those failures I'm going to learn from. And so as a result, I actually piloted September 21st
Okay.
with people with some great learning moments, including a flood. But nobody was hurt and nobody drowned. It was just but so my limitation I know is time, and I haven't ever been able to stop that, but I have adapted in breaking down and going, okay, this is where I'm at right now. What can I pilot? And so I would pilot the food, and then I piloted where people could sleep. And so the pilot that I did have was carried out. Is the renos done? No. Am I launching? Yes, in November. And I do know that all of the stuff has to be done for that. And as a result, I have given myself a little bit more time, and my family will support me in that because they know that I've been like pushing back deadlines, but knowing that I just want to do it. So that's one of my limitations and how I've worked through it.
Maria, this is lovely because I loved it when you just in the whole of that, you just passingly said, and and I've not figured out how to make it stand still or something. I was like thinking, Jesus, if you can do that, good luck to you, mate. However, the other thing with time is one of the tricks I use, because I call them tricks is probably the wrong word. Hacks is probably the wrong word. But basically, one of the ways is like, if I want to do, like, I know that World Creativity and Innovation Day is April the 21st, right? So oftentimes I will put in my diary, oh, if I want to write a piece about the power of innovation and how we have to be creative to be innovative for that date, number one, it's really easy for me to remember. It happens to be my son's birthday, right? Secondly, right, it gives me that deadline. And because I'm not how some people are lastminute.com people. I'm the opposite. I'm not a lastminute.com person. And I keep working with people who are, okay. But because I know that, so I will give myself a kind of deadline, but before. So for example, I knew, and I'm just sharing more examples with you. I knew that Monday of this week was 10 years to the day that I first did an interview with one of my Mavericks. So I thought about it last week. I checked and got the right date. And I just got my journal and I just wrote from my heart what I wanted to write, what I wanted to say. And then what I did was I typed it up and I had it ready on my LinkedIn post, right? But I didn't press post. I just had it ready, right? That way I don't miss the day. I also know that tomorrow is because you're here, you're getting you're getting this a bit of a preview, yeah. I know it happens to be 12 years since Steve Jobs passed away tomorrow. My post is ready for me to press play tomorrow, yeah? So sometimes and when I don't know what to write about, I just go on, when you have that calendar of all the days in the year, right? So it might turn up, oh, it's Martin Luther King Day on that day. Oh, yeah, I think I'd like to write. So sometimes I use a calendar to guide me. So we can't control time, yeah, but we do know that certain things are going to happen on a certain day. And I sometimes use those days to help me meet a deadline. Does that make sense? Who else would like a go? Stick your hand up because then I can see you. Oh, hey you. Hi, Karina.
Hey, Billie.
Hey, lovely. How's it
So
going?
good to see you and to hear your enthusiasm and your voice.
Oh, mate, I still got your email. Oh, got Michael. Yes, Michael. I've still got your email from last year, darling.
So I've been developing a film and I was getting really burned out, and my friend invited me on a cruise. And I'm not like a cruise ship type person. I've never done it. I was just like, no, that's not really my thing. He's like, you got to do everything once. And I was like, you're right. Okay. And he's like, you can pick where we go. So I chose Japan because I didn't know anything about Japan. And well, very little. I mean, I knew some, obviously. And I know he's not a planner. He's like, oh, just get there and figure it out. And I'm just like, yeah, but then you don't know where to walk around. You don't know what's there. So I created this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's our itinerary. So we went for 5 weeks and it's all color coded by city.
Oh my God.
And
You would get on so well with my fella.
and every day, and I was trying to think of not just things to see, but things to do.
Yeah.
Like we sewed kimono, we dyed fabric, we made ramen an old-fashioned way. We didn't just like walk around and look at stuff. And so, you know, and I love spontaneity. So I planned times for spontaneity and rough guesstimates of what neighborhoods we could be spontaneous and explore and poke around. But I have all of the tickets and the QRs.
Wow.
And it's all like color coded by city, and then like travel is green, activity is blue, stay is red, so that we have all the information in the itinerary. So this is the masterpiece of the year. And then, you know, some things, you know, got scratched off because, you know, something canceled and you have to, you know, make a change of plans. But I was ready for a change of plans because I had 36 pages with all of my research that I printed out and brought with us in case we didn't have Wi-Fi.
I've got to say this to you, okay? Have you seen Eat, Pray, Love?
Sorry?
Have you seen Eat, Pray, Love?
I read it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you haven't got an idea for a film, I think everything you just explained could be a movie in its own. I think the idea is there.
So it was amazing. So the thing that I know about myself is I love the rabbit holes and exploring all these cities online and what is there and what are the neighborhoods and how do you get from point A to point B and looking at all the different possibilities of where we could stay and what we could do. It could have gotten overwhelming and it was really fun to do that research, but I knew I had to finish because I had a deadline. We had takeoff. So it was important to, you know, to be able to do the research without getting too far down the rabbit holes and spending too much time learning Japanese and learning about this and learning about that. So I could fill in all the boxes before we were there and having to plan on the trip.
That is so beautiful because life is like a rainbow. Yeah, you want all the different colors and the experiences. And if you look at when I look at that, I think, oh my God, she rainbowed it. She rainbow-fied that, right? So thank you for sharing. Who wants to go next? Because we got to get our money's worth, people. And don't all talk at once because it really freaks me out. Or I'll pick people. Remember, I used to be a lecturer.
Can I ask? Hi, Kyrena. Can I ask you a question? Did it work to plan time to be spontaneous? I just love that idea.
Yes. I actually plan in my calendar what I call nothing days, that are days that have no plans. And I don't just push stuff off like, oh, I'll hang out with that person that day or I'll clean the house. I plan nothing and I get to wake up and do anything I want on that day, whatever I feel like I need. And it started with, I think, once a month, and then it turned into like twice a month. And now I put them in because I have a kind of different schedule every day. I just block it off. I'm like, this is a nothing day. And if I want to
love that.
Garden all day, if I want to clean the house, if that, whatever, I just find my jam.
Yeah.
And
I love that. So fantastic.
Thank you for sharing. Right, anybody who's putting things in the chat, right, I can either look at you and talk to you guys or just say it out, right, because I'd rather be looking at you and talking than trying to read a chat at the same time. Obviously multitasking is not, you know, what do they say? Be, if you're doing something, be 100% there. I'm 100% in front of the screen with you guys. I ain't got time for this chat room shit, right? So, and again, the spontaneity, you know, find your way. Anybody who sees anything I draw, there will be a whacking great gap. And I know everybody looks at it and goes, but she didn't fill that in. You know what? The first thing I do on anything I draw, I leave my white space. Because that's my space for being spontaneous. So create, I think you did, I love the way you timetable spontaneity in. I mean, the actual context is, just to say you timetable spontaneity is just, it's kind of playing with spontaneity because it's the opposite of what it is. But sometimes, don't you find when we do the opposite of something, we get more than we bargained for? Okay, so who put things in the chat room that I haven't had time to read that now is going to nicely put their hand up? Okay, the lovely lady Cynthia, you have the floor. Oh, unmute yourself, girlfriend.
There we go. Just echoing
Good.
off, you know, having that free day, free time. That's my every Sunday. And I tell everybody, you know, that's my day. I don't commit me to anything. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. If I want to work, I work. If I don't want to work, I don't work. I go play. I do what I want to do. And I love having that freedom and being able to create that boundary of freedom. Let everybody know that's my day, and they respect that.
And you
They
know,
really respect that, and I find it very, very rejuvenating to have that freedom
the biggest
that
thing
I can
with
do whatever I want.
Cynthia, that the biggest thing with that is that's how you respect yourself, and nobody will respect you if you don't respect.
Yes,
That's how it works. Thank you so much. Who wants to go
I
next?
tend
Oh, sorry, darling. I didn't know you were going to say something else. Add some more.
to be a super hyper planner.
Mhm.
Because I need that global vision of my ideas on paper, but I allow myself enough flexibility. And one thing I'm learning to do is build in white space in that planning scheme. So
Excellent.
that, okay, I have this block of time. That means I can move things around if I need to, if something is tripped up, or during that block of time, I can do whatever I want to. I can take a breather. I can go for a walk, have a cup of coffee, or do something.
Thank you so much.
Building in that white space is really important for us.
Thank you. Hands up, somebody else. Oh, Sammy, you have the floor.
Hello, Billie. How are you?
Hi, darling.
I'm good. I'm good. I love what you said. I love what you said about the Michael Jackson and the Prince thing. He's like, I've got an idea and I better get onto it because Prince might take it, which is interesting because it's like we don't own ideas. Like it's the universe, you know, flowing through us, and it's a moment in space and time. If you're opening the portal and deciding and choosing to act upon that idea. So I really resonated with that. I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh, thank you. And I know you, and I've heard you talk, so I know why that resonates with you, darling.
Yeah, and I feel like the way to, you know, tackle what you were saying earlier is the prompt is I just love to listen to things that inspire me and, you know, reverse engineer it, and just also take time and space, like you were saying earlier, leave the blank space in the calendar, because it's, you know, you've received the idea, you act upon it, and then gift yourself a bit of space to allow it to like a baby grow and form its own sense of being and its own individuality and authenticity, and that sometimes takes time.
Sammy, listen to your language, neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, just because I do this in a funky way, I'm a boring academic, really, right? Writing research papers, that makes my, but I know it's, but you said gift yourself the time. That is the sentence you just said. And what a lot of human beings don't do, they don't gift themselves the time. Okay,
so true.
You know,
Time is the one coin I think we can control, or we can choose to control it. It was actually, that was a piece of paper that my relatives, my grandparents passed on a piece of paper, and we actually framed it and we passed it down through the generations. And it's so true.
thank you so much, Sammy. Who'd like to go next? I'm all about interaction. Oh, lovely lady in the bottom. Apeksha. Am I saying your name right?
Almost. It's apeksha, but that's okay.
Apeksha. What does it mean?
Anticipation.
Anticipation. In what language?
Sanskrit. Hindi.
Sanskrit. Okay, yeah. I speak Hindi, but I've never. You just taught me a new word. Okay, I've never heard the word Apeksha. Okay, Apeksha.
Yes, I saw your spice
Oh.
thali, and that's how we have spices at home.
Yeah.
At the starting, but that was just the thing. But I won't say that I have any idea that I've executed, because there are so many ideas that I'm still trying to execute. But there's something that I've been doing from like the last couple of years, and I don't know, anybody in the room is free to join in at any point in time. I think that it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're a student or you're a professional or you're a parent or whatever you are. I think everybody goes through stages in their life where they're unsure, or where somebody tends to sort of shout them down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over the last couple of years, it started during the pandemic, when it was really stressful with work and everything. And I started putting down these affirmations to remind myself, because you tend to forget maybe how good you are, or you forget that you have a voice. And so I've been kind of putting those together to remind myself. So I read it from time to time, you know, when I feel that, oh, I've not been able to be at my ideal best in a situation, and when I'm communicating with someone. So for example, I'll just read a couple. One was like, trust that you have experience, even if others force theirs upon you. Trust that you are not as broken as you think. And trust that you can speak up for yourself, even if you're hurt or upset, even if they're friends or foes.
So, first of all, I would like to say a big thank you. It takes courage to say those sentences out loud enough to yourself. It takes even more courage to say that in a room full of people. You're not broken. You're perfect just the way you are, and you're exactly where you need to be at the moment. That's part of the journey, okay? That's the first thing. Second thing, one way to, I'm going to be doing a session later on about inspiration, but one of the ways I've used, so what I'm doing is I'm listening to what you say and then thinking, oh, maybe this little bit might help them. Understand how you operate in the world, okay? You're Indian, so this is going to be really, really easy for me. Have you seen The Three Idiots?
Yeah.
Okay, right. If I meet an Indian person, and for those of you who aren't Indian, I will explain this to you. If I meet an Indian person, I just say to them, hey, have you seen The Three Idiots? And if they say yes, which most Indian people have because it's one of the best movies ever, right? I say, I'm Vansut. That's how I think. So the character that Amir Khan plays is exactly what I'm like in life. Okay, he's this dreamer. He likes to learn for the sheer joy of learning, and he thinks everything's possible. And he's the kid who swims upstream when everybody's swimming the other way. Now, it's worth watching the movie just because it's such a good feel-good movie. Okay, but one of the ways is to find somebody who's a bit like you, who you resonate with. When we watch movies, we resonate with people in movies, yeah? Earlier on, I was having a one-to-one session with Ash Grayson, which was the 10:30 session I did. And I just said to him, you know, I relate to people like Wonder and Willy Wonka. And I once had a friend, a really good friend, said to me, you know what, Billie, you know what you should do? Because you know your friends, aren't they really good at telling you what you should do? Right? So my friend said to me, "Oh, Billie, before you ever go for a job interview, you should watch Big because you're like him." And I was like, "I love that movie." So I started watching Big before I was going to have a meeting with somebody, just to, not because I don't know it, but just to remind me that that is how I operate. And it's okay that I am going to go into a room with everybody else who may not operate like that, but I'm supposed to be like that. And I think your affirmations are a really good way of telling yourself, and you're right, the whole world will spend their life putting you down. Okay, the world does that, but you know what, along the way you'll have people who'll pick you up as well, who'll be like, "Oh my god, I love you." Sammy is probably one of my biggest members of my fan club, and I know that she's made it very clear from the first day I met her. Okay, but it's not about me having fans. When you have so many people like Apishka, the way you said it, during COVID, there was a lot of negative energy around, as well as people helping each other. You kind of, for everybody who knocks you down, you just need one person saying, "Mate, just keep going. You're on the right track. You can do this," right? And that one lone voice can be enough to spark you to say, "Fuck you, watch me," which is what I say to myself all the time. So thank you very much for sharing, and thank you for being so courageous. Next person.
No worries.
Who wants to go next? Nobody's leaving. We can go. Remember,
I'll jump in if
Yeah,
can you hear me okay with this? Billie, it's so nice to I thank you for coming to my talk yesterday. It's so wonderful to see yours. This is just incredibly inspiring, and your enthusiasm is just infectious. It's so wonderful. So I was going to, and I have to tell you, my nickname is Wonka, so that's not surprising that we get a lot. Yes.
Good job you don't say it like a British person, because it could sound completely wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I watched Ted Lasso, so I think I know the reference you're talking about.
Yes, I do.
No, yeah, Wanker's not my nickname, thank God. So I read this book early in the pandemic, and I found it to be really, really powerful and insightful. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I know a lot of people have read it, and I love the way his mind thinks. He's a very clear thinker. He's and then and then he has these checklists you do, right? And it's like a graph, and you put a little check mark, and it's like I like the concept of tracking, your habits, but for me it was so much like being in the middle of a spreadsheet. And I'm coming to your thing, like I know myself, and I know that if I'm using a tool or a template, like I need to create it myself, and I need to create it my own way. So I took the idea kind of, and then I created this, which I call a creative habit chart, right? So it's, instead of being linear, it's circular, and you get to choose what habit you want to do. And then if you do it on that day, this is day 1 and this is day 31 of the month, you get to color it in. And what I liked about it was that as I colored in, I'll go like, one of them was just a sketchbook, like just do anything in my sketchbook. It can be a 1-minute drawing, it can be anything. As I colored in, I just get to go, good job, Will. Like, and you think about what you sketched, and you sort of reinforce that habit. And then I'm just a visual person, so I get to see, so I went to the art store and I picked out my palette of colors. I was like, these all work together.
Yeah.
And then if I get on on the outer ring, I call this a red letter day. So if you get every single one of your things, then you get to put that red in there, and then you go, fuck yeah, good job.
This is so beautiful, because again, what you're instilling in us and sharing with us, Will, is the fact that we have to live our own type of magic. The big magic, for those of you who weren't here last year.
I love that book. Yeah.
I did a session called "Do You Be You and Fuck Everybody Else," and you're a living example of that, because there's this real satisfaction. Okay. Oh, I can see you showing the book.
What is that?
What happens is there is this satisfaction in colouring in the book. Exactly as I said to you when I was doing those, right? I have the same. I actually have things that I'm going to do. And every day I'll tick it. And, you know, you get your little tick charts and there's this sense of, you know, the joy of ticking a box or colouring a square in. Yeah. It's kind of like the highlight of, they're like, you know, remember, you've got to have a lot of little wins that become a big win. It's the same way that if you say, I'm going to eat an apple, I'm going to eat loads of protein, I'm going to make it to the gym, eventually it's going to show, right? So there's more, and what it makes is it makes it more palatable. It makes it small, and there's this sense of achievement. Oh my God, like if I haven't done something, I'll stay up an extra 15 minutes just so I can get my extra ticks in. Do you know what I mean? I was supposed to do I do the 5-minute journal. One of my friends, one of my mavericks, I had no idea was actually the author of that, and it's an app. And then if I go to bed and I'm like, oh my God, I did my run, and then I started writing my journal, and then I started writing that piece, and I'll sit down and I'll go to write my end of day journal, and I realize I haven't done the morning, and I went, who died and made them the God of my universe? I'll do the morning bit and the evening, because then I still ticked it. So, you know, whose rules are we living by? Yeah, I think the fact that you did it as a circle, I'm so jealous. I'm like, oh, I need one of them.
Yeah, well, I'll send it to you. I'm giving a talk on the building creative habits tomorrow, but I'm happy to share it with anybody if it's helpful, you know.
Thank you for sharing. Who else have we got in the room? Anybody else want to say something? How are we doing for time? Because you know me, I'm not always go over.
It's the break after this, so it's okay if we run slightly over. There's nobody coming in this room until after the keynote.
Hi, Aidan, mate. You always let me have extra time.
Always.
So, Billie, I do have a question for you.
Hang on a second.
What happens? What happens when you start executing on too much? How do you handle that?
It's not a problem I have. It's not a challenge I face. It's because and the reason is I'm not being, you know, blasé. It's just that, you know, like they say, you know, if somebody says to you what time it is, the time is now. Yeah. The way of the peaceful warrior, all the meditation stuff, all this stuff, it's now, right? So I realized that multitasking used to be real things. Oh, like they're so clever, they can multitask. Bullshit. The magic is super focus, right? So when you're saying, I will have different things I want to do, okay? But sometimes I deliberately, well, actually what I do is I deliberately make myself, this is what I'm working on. I'm not like people who will have hundreds of things they're working on. I will probably have 2 or 3 things, because I know if I start to, because what I'll do is, remember my limitations, I will start chasing the shiny object. I will start running down too many rabbit holes. So one way is, we were talking about this, I think yesterday, Will, in your session about guardrails. My guardrails is, at the moment, like if I was to tell you, hands up, right, what I'm working on revamping my website. I'm working on what I was doing for today. I'm toying with this idea of doing a PhD at the moment, which is like, and those things, you know. And obviously, I want to live a good life. I'm an absolute adventurer. For those of you who, the more we talk to people, the more we like. I met my partner trekking across the Northern Sahara, sleeping in Bedouin tents and doing adventures, yeah? So last Monday, I think we found out that our green card goes in and in December, and I might not be allowed to leave the country. By Tuesday, I'd booked a hiking trip in Patagonia, right? Because I need, so do you see? So I've got an adventure. I'm thinking about what I might be working on once I've got the website up. And so I'm planning those things. Anything else, if I put anything else into the equation, jack shit is going to happen. Isn't that right, Quinn? My partner in crime. So Quinn and I work together. So he's just jumped. I've just seen him jump into the room. Quinn and I work together, and what we do is we actually provide each other with guardrails. We'll be like, no, this is what we're going to talk about today, because otherwise we will talk about food. We will start drinking bourbon or coffee. What was the last one?
yeah.
We have coffee old fashioned.
Old fashions, yeah, coffee old fashions.
Yeah. So that's how I only have a few things. So to answer your question in a very simple way, Jay, basically, I don't put too many things because I'd rather do I'd rather do a few things really fucking epically well than do a load of things mediocre shit. that's just my lens. Okay. Now
Actually, Billie, would you mind if I jumped in there real fast?
You can, Quinn, you go on, because otherwise you won't let me come around your house. Go
on. I was going to say, what I usually do is you subdivide. I mean, and best thing to do is to actually take a look at what you want to accomplish. Sometimes you're looking at things with a lot of opportunity and potential, and you keep adding on to it because you can see where you ultimately want to go. But you always have to remember to take a couple steps back and break it into easily maintainable steps. And you can't see my hands. I talk with my hands. So I'm like, come back here, but easily maintainable steps. And then what you do is you kick on the proclaimers or something like that, so you can hear about walking 1,000 miles, right? Or something along those lines to keep you going. And just remember, it's one step at a time. And every step you take gets you a little bit closer. And with the more maintainable, closer goals, you keep yourself moving forward because you can see the progress you make. Because otherwise, when it's that big picture, you're like, oh my God, I've only got a couple steps, but you can still get there.
And the thing I'd add to that with Quinn is you start with loads of stuff, yeah, that's where your divergence is. But then choose what you'll, remember I said, how did we start this session? We started with a jar of salt, hundreds of ideas. That ain't gonna, there's no way in one lifetime I'm gonna get through all those ideas. Well, actually, I'd like to give it a go, but, but choose the ones. And remember, do you guys ever watch those videos? I don't do it often, but it is a bit of a thing. You know, where people have real there's videos on YouTube where you got 40 minutes of people doing their job with great satisfaction. And it can just be butter and bread. So if you're going to do something, do it well. Because you know what? I would rather have a reputation of having somebody, oh my God, right? When that bitch gets her head into something, she is going to execute this on top form. I'd rather have that reputation than have the reputation of somebody. You know what? She has loads of great ideas, but she hasn't been executed on jack shit. Yeah, because brings us right back to ideas without execution is nothing. It's just an idea. Who else would like to have something to say? Who has? Hang on.
We had a hand up from Yvette a minute ago. She's still
we
here.
did, and I don't know if she's still there. I can't see her if she's there. Oh, hi, Yvette. Sorry, darling, you had your hand up and I didn't get to you. So what were you going to say, beautiful? Oh, unmute yourself, honey. It helps. I can't hear you, darling. Right, gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can now.
So I design. I am a graphic designer, and I've been doing designs for 5 years now, but I've not been able to launch out. I run my mom's business. It's a catering business, so I handle everything visual, everything design, and the few people that are closer to me know that I do design, but I've not been able to muster courage to launch out. But in August, I started putting pressure on myself, and so I took a step in creating a portfolio online on Behance. I started working on compiling the list of works that I've done. So I've had works that I've done, but I've not published yet. So I took that step because I was just afraid of starting. I had that fear because normally when you see the job description of companies that are hiring, it has a whole lot of lists. And I was like, God, will I be able to match up with all these qualifications? Because I felt like I've not gained mastery yet, but I see some of the works that I've done. I'm like, Yvette, you've done a lot and you can do this. So I affirm myself. I keep saying, Yvette, go girl, you can do this. And that's been the cycle for me this month of October, and on that journey of mastering my skills as well.
First of all, thank you for sharing. Again, like a pesca, you know, you've just turned around and said, it takes courage to say what you just said in a room full of people. This is what I will say to you, darling, okay? There are two Yvettes, okay? And there's a line. There's the Yvette who wasn't courageous, and there's the Yvette who is. And you've already crossed that chasm, because you've started putting yourself out, yeah? And you're talking, and you use the word mastery. Mastery is overrated, okay? Remember that phrase, it's the journey, not the destination, okay? So don't worry about what anybody else has done. Do you think if I worried about if somebody looked at my drawings, okay, they might laugh at them? Somebody once told me, okay, nobody will ever take you seriously. Your work looks like it's been done by a primary school teacher. Do you know what? It's that fucking work that's actually people getting me noticed. Okay, do it your way. Your work's great. It's going to land somewhere. But the biggest thing is, not only were you courageous enough to say this in a room full of people, you've already moved the needle. You're on your journey. You've started sharing it with the world. Okay, unless people, I had this friend once, okay, and I'll use this analogy. I had this friend once, and she was saying that she'd moved, I was in London, and she'd moved over from Italy, and she was saying, oh, you've got loads of friends, you're always going out, you know, you're always being invited to this, you get, you know, all these things. And I just looked at her, I said, do you know what, honey? When the door was closed, nobody behind your closed front door knows you exist there and have all these ideas and all these drawings and all these things, whatever, everything you've got, nobody knows they need to come and knock on that door. You have to go outside and set your stall out and say, this is me, this is what I've worked on, because there's a lot of things that human beings are, but there's very few people who are psychic, I find. Okay, so unless you're saying, it's the same way I'm saying to you, I'm working on my website. I've been working with Quinn, and we're like, oh yeah, we need to put my stand out in a different way. Yeah, so we're working on that. The fact is, we're working on it, and life, darling, is a work in progress. And I often say to people, it's all about the dash. When we're on our deathbed, when we die, there will be a tombstone, baby. It will have a date you were born and the date you died. It's the dash that counts. It's what we do in that little bit in the middle. Okay? And you're doing it. So I salute you for that. And thank you so much for sharing that. And keep going, girlfriend. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Okay. I'm now going to pick people because I've only got a few people. Janie, you got anything you want to add, darling? Even if it's just something that somebody else did that inspired you or helped, you saw how somebody else executed well. I can't hear you for some reason. Aidan, can you help me, darling? No sound.
Yeah, just double check that you got the correct microphone selected in your Zoom settings.
Yeah, I probably.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. You are very inspiring. I guess I don't have very much confidence, and I have an ideas, and I need to follow my idea and execute it. So I've been writing down and collecting all those information today, and I really enjoy it. I really happy to have all those information. So I will shoot all those the email to Will and Karina. I think they are excellent. Thank you very much, and I'm going to pick myself up and have courage to stand up and in front of the people and talk with people.
I think that's lovely. And you know what? Have a chat with me, darling. Find a time, we'll have a chat, and we will find what you're working on, and let's see if we can butter up Maxim and get you to be a speaker next year. because that really
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
Billie.
You know, this is all life is about, is letting your light shine. Okay, this is what I do, isn't magic. Okay, I'm just alive. That's what it's that it's vitality. That's what people are looking for. And you know what, you seem like a lady who's quietly vital, and I think the world needs to see that.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Have you
Nice
ever
to see the gray hair?
Not the grey hair at all, darling. I think it's your heart. It's your heart that you need to show the world, okay? Have you ever read a book called Quiet? Have you ever read this?
No, no.
Okay, I want you to read this, okay? I'm just scanning my bookshelves to find out where I've put it. You need to read a book called Quiet by Susan, what's her name? Somebody help me. Susan. Email me, I'll find it for you. For some godforsaken reason, I'm scanning, and I can't find it.
Susan
so
Cain.
that's the one.
C-A-I-N.
Thank you, rock star. Find a book, watch the TED Talk by Susan Cain. It's all about the power of introverts. Okay. And quiet people. My partner is a quiet person, okay? And it's the magic comes from the yin and yang of both those people. So drop me a note. I'd love to watch the video, read the book, and then say, Billie, I've done my homework. Can I talk to you now? And I'll say, sure, honey.
All right, thank you.
You're more than welcome. Okay, who else have we got in the room that I can see? Salvatore, you've been very quiet and listening very attentively. So what would you like to add?
I just got muted. Well, I think you really hit it on the head in a lot of ways. Just linguistically, I think friction is such an important word. So creatively, I think everything is I mean, it's a lifestyle. Creatively, it's a lifestyle, but I think a lot of things happen outside the box as you know, your own subjective process, showing up to the box.
Yes.
But there's a lot of, preparation for, I mean, if you think of off-screen space and film, but as far as creating and getting work done, I think most importantly, when you're embedded in that your process, because it sounds like everybody has their own subjective process to get where they need to be. But when you're embedded, at least in my experience, and only you, and that's a process within itself for you, right? We've covered that, right? I think when you show up, it in a lot of ways it finds you. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah, and I think a little bit like in Big Magic, if you show up, the ideas will show up, the people will show up. I mean, I'm joking about it. I was a bloody children's nursing lecturer, and I ended up in the room with all these, seriously, I have photographs of me with the old, remember that old brick phone? You know, the first ever mobile phone? I have photos around his house with him and his missus and that phone. And it shouldn't have, in any given universe, it was ludicrous, right? But you know what? That's why you live in Neverland. It's such a great place to be.